and doing stuff. Hi, folks. Sorry about that. I'm not sure why we were cracking so much. I'm hoping it wasn't interference from. And let's see. Let me give you this again. Try this. I tell you,
Oh, that's a little better. That's really bright there.
it is bright. Okay, I'll come up, back up.
Give me a little more light.
We,
now,
we've
would you?
we've never had. Well, you can't, you can't do that.
I
What?
feel like we're really in a
We're like in
dungeon
a
now.
dungeon now. It's like scary stuff.
Maybe I could turn this on. Oh, that's rip. Oh, that's.
I have a lot of equipment over here. We usually have a better system than this. But here we go.
Hi.
Take two.
So
There you
it's
go.
really glary.
I can put that down. I think that's what was giving us the.
And even glary
Here you
from
go.
over
Look at you.
here.
See yourself just adjusting things. Adjustments.
Okay.
There. Look at. You're acting crazy. What? That's gonna fall down, and we're gonna be like a complete mess. Oh no! This is the kind of entertainment.
Right?
This is the kind of stuff you get around here, folks.
It's super bright, but okay.
Oh,
Looks good. Hey, looking good from Boston. Hi, Alex. Hi, Irene. Hi, Christopher. So far, it's better. Thanks, Kim.
we usually go upstairs, but our daughter's had an interesting week, so
So,
she's autistic, and sometimes she makes a lot of noises.
it makes it a little bit easier for
Yeah,
us to
she
be here.
she um, she's just adjusting still to moving here, and I think that's possibly what's going on.
Thanks, Getty. Shannon, your hair looks great. Thank you.
Whenever I tell Shannon, "Oh my God, you look so beautiful," she always says, "That's because I washed my hair." I'm like, what? Huh? What's that even mean? I don't know. Boom. So that's hello, you two. Irene, nice to have you here. Christopher looks good. Looks is the sound better? Sounds better. You know what it could have been? I had some of the wires underneath my preamp here, so that could have possibly created some problems. I don't know. What do you think it was, honey?
I have no idea. There's so many cords in this room, I wouldn't even know where to
Well,
begin.
there's a tangled web down here because it's all the wires from the radio
There's,
station that I
there's
work for
just
every
a
night.
lot of stuff. That's all I have to say. A
From
ton of
I
stuff.
work for Bell Media in Vancouver, and I do a show for them every night. And I have since I've worked with them since 1990. I'm very, very lucky because most of the time.
Someone saying another great shirt there.
Thank you. Yeah, I've had this one. I wore the nicest one I ever had for Davy Johnstone from the Elton John band the other day. I told him, I said, by the way, I'm wearing my number one shirt. It's the most expensive shirt I've ever bought. I didn't buy it. She bought it for me for my
And
birthday.
he's actually got a lot of. He's got
A lot
quite
of
the
nice
collection.
shirts. But after a while, and you can probably understand this, after a while you get to know what shows up. Just because it looks good on the when you're wearing it outside, it might not look good on video. So I like wearing bright shirts.
Hi, Brian. Good evening.
Hi,
Back
Brian.
to you.
He's saying good evening to you.
Oh, this is my sidekick over here.
That's right.
Hi,
Shannon,
Snowman. Long time no see.
Hey,
Hello,
Snowman.
Hey, Samantha. Hi from Los Angeles. Jason, should Dr. Hook be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
I don't think they ever will be. I'm not saying they don't deserve it. Um, I was going to ask Randy Backman that today about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but we just went off on he's such a great storyteller. It's amazing. And I don't know if I mentioned it in the last feed, but there was one subject, and I can't tell you what it is yet. Early next week, we'll put out the entire video on Rock History Book, our sister channel, and put part one on this channel. But there was one subject that made him weep, get very emotional on the feed, and it's quite nice. He's an interesting man. He's a great interview. Always love talking to him. By the way, all the videos that we put out, like musicians who weren't popular musicians in England that weren't popular here in North America, Shannon writes all those. I don't write any of those. Shannon, and then Chase puts most of the videos together. Our son. Our son works so hard. I mean, usually, you have a teenager, even though Chase is like a grandfather. Chase is very mature for his age. He's incredibly mature. We never talk baby talk to Chase, and that's probably why. And
So Rick says, hi again. Do you ever think Toto will be in the Rock Hall? The band doesn't think so since they
Oh, pissed off Jan Werner. Yeah.
or something back in the day, but they definitely deserve to.
I think that, who was it a couple of years ago that said bad things about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and then got in, banned? They kept saying bad things, but then that very same year they got in. Jethro Tull, I thought might have been nominated this year. Didn't happen. There's always surprises, and people are always. I'm going to tell you this story, and he told me I could share it again. And Randy Bachman, maybe in 2004, 2005, forget. We finished the live interview. I said, "Oh man, I wish I had more time for you, but we're doing live, and I can't really stop the radio station to make a Bachman special when they weren't expecting it." And he says, "Oh, Neil Young and I are going to go see the Shadows reunite in England, and here's my home number. Call me on this day, on this time, and I'll be ready for you." And when I phoned him, he was like, "Hey, John," So I was really nice. But while we were waiting, I said, "So you're going to work with Burton Cummings again?" I've told this story before. He said, "Well, it depends because Burton wants $2 million for every $1 million I make." And I went, "So you're not going to, you probably won't work with him ever again?" He said, "Well, actually, that's found money for me. That's money I don't have. And if I get my ego involved in it and I get all high and mighty, that's $1 million I will not make." And he says, "So I don't get involved in that." And I told him today, I said, "That really hit me when you said that because whenever I'd go, now and then in everyone's life, they'll get, 'Oh, don't you realize I can do this?' or whatever." I would just go, "No, I'll take that job. Sure, that's fine." And that made a big difference. So, Randy's take on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is probably very similar. I don't know.
Paul's asking, do you think Pat Benatar makes it this year?
Yeah, that's for sure. Her and Neil Giraldo, her husband, posted some really nice things. I'm going to try to talk to them, and they'll probably want to talk because of the nomination process. It's usually a good time to get an artist because they want to get their names out there, and she certainly deserves it. So, yeah.
What about ELP to be in the Hall of Fame?
Emerson, Lake and Palmer, yeah. I definitely. I've really gotten to appreciate their music as my musical tastes have matured. I mean, they were too symphonic for me in the 70s, even though that's when they were big. But they'll get in sometime when they're nominated.
Christopher says Randy Bachman is so cool. Can't wait to see the latest interview.
You're gonna love this. We're gonna put it probably. Chase is editing it right now, and Chase came up to me and said, "Wow, this guy is the coolest guy in the world." Randy Bachman got more questions from you. Excuse me. In the last few years, I've been, I never did it before because I always thought people would think I'm not doing my research. I'm a research pig. But I thought, wouldn't it be nice to give the fans a chance to ask questions to the people I interview? So, and some of you guys come up with better questions than I would have thought of. So I went, why haven't I done this before? So, this will probably be, I don't know how long it'll be, but a long interview. Like I said, almost 2 hours, but then you cut stuff off where I'm asking about people that we both know and it's not important to you. So
Fraser J says, "Hey guys, great to see Shannon back. You guys are amazing." Rick is asking about Steve Miller.
What about Steve Miller?
Steve Miller was very critical.
Steve Miller
of the Rock Hall, yeah.
But after, not as much before. Was he before? Because I remember what happened after when he's talking about how much the seats cost. And Randy Bachman told me a really interesting story about Steve Miller today, which has been told before, but it probably will be part one, which could go up as fast as tomorrow. Yeah. And Ian Anderson of Jethro Tull's coming up this weekend. Steve Rothery is coming up from Marillion. We've got Steve Hackett on Monday from Genesis fame. We've got a lot of interviews coming up in the next little while. When it rains, it pours. And the channel's doing really well. So, plus, it helps sometimes the fact that I'm not just some guy living in his parents' basement doing YouTube videos, because they don't talk to anybody.
Hey guys, Pete from Riverview. How are you doing tonight?
Hey.
Enjoying the snow? Yeah, Pete, it's been wonderful.
Pete, are you the gentleman who talked to us before from Riverview? You must be. Because I think I probably have one Moncton fan. I don't know.
That was Fraser J saying, "Hey, felt for John last Friday, trying to do everything on his own without his wing woman Shannon."
Yeah, Yeah, you know what? I come on here when something happens in rock and roll, and what, a little light came on. Actually, Shannon told me once. She said, "Why don't when if someone dies or something, an emergency happens, she says it's not like you haven't been on live radio most of your life. Why don't you just sit down and do it?" And the reason I haven't done it before is because I couldn't show you pictures of the person who died. And we're going to get a switcher or a software now where I just press K and pictures will start coming up on the live feed while I'm talking to all of you. So we'll do that.
Precy is saying, I'm heartbroken that the Elton John band were not nominated again.
They haven't done a lot of that, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they should. You know, Davy Johnstone's one of the greatest guitarists. Nigel Olsson was a perfect drummer for Elton John. As I always say when I talk about Nigel, the king of less is more. Roger Pope did all these fancy stuff, and technically he was a better drummer, or a better drummer in that genre. But Elton needed Nigel, even though I loved Roger Pope. Man, great drummer.
Spacey says, I've got to leave soon, John, but I want to chime in on your latest topic video. The coolest musician celebrity I ever met was Trevor
Rabin.
Once in 1988 and again in 2016.
He's known to be a good guy. He's got a new album coming out. I'm going to I hope I can get him. I've gotten a lot of people who've worked with Yes, most notably John Anderson, of course, and Bill Bruford, and quite a few of them. You know, Dylan Howe, Steve Howe's son, Alan White. You know, there's somebody else in there, but.
Brian says, did you hear that Ian Anderson is already writing the follow-up to the
Zealot? Yeah. He says when he's bored, he has told me many interviews ago that the quote was, I said, how do you write? How can you be so prolific during the days where you guys were really going 100 miles an hour? And he says songs were built from sheer boredom in the hotel room. That's exactly what he said, sheer boredom. And he likes to occupy his mind. I have to say with Ian Anderson, this is the one, I think this is, I've interviewed him quite a few times now, but he was very jolly. He's quite serious as a man when you interview him, but he, some good stories coming out. Probably the best one yet. So there you go.
And Rick says, is the Bachman interview a video interview or a phone one, like the last one?
I don't really do phone interviews anymore, unless if Paul McCartney wanted to do a phone interview, I'd say yes, Paul. But no, I asked, speaking of the Beatles, he's never met Paul McCartney. He toured with Ringo Starr, of course, and talked to George Harrison right after George left the Beatles and was recording All Things Must Pass. So it was kind of a cool thing. John's got to crack his neck, sorry. Oh, from shoveling snow. Man, did I mention our neighbor Jeff came over to help twice now? What a nice guy.
Super nice. We've got some amazing neighbors in our community.
Like he was like Batman. He got out of his Dodge
Pretty
Ram,
much, right?
opened this thing and just had this big scooper thing. I'm going, that's the Batman.
Wayne says, hello, everyone. And Pete says, yes, from Riverview.
That's the guy. Hi, Pete.
And Rockchild of the 60s, good evening, everyone. Dana, pardon me. Hi from New York.
I love New York.
Jeff
I've never
Hansen
been.
says, oh man, I have to run. See you next week. Bye, Jeff.
See you, Jeff.
John Adams says, hi. JT Shark, here's a name you either get or don't. Tommy James and the Shondells.
What you want? What do you? Is this for interviews?
Yes. Here's a name you either get or don't. Tommy James.
Well, his Henry Gross, you know, the guy who sang Shannon, the big hit, he had told me a few times that you say you got to get Tommy James, man. You got to get Tommy James, and he's friends with him. Yeah, I'd like to. I want to read the book first. You know how the mob was really involved with the music industry, and he sounds like an interesting guy. He posts a lot of stuff, and it seems like it's him posting it because I follow him on Facebook. So yeah.
Carrie Crouch, I had plans to watch some other YouTube videos when I got home tonight, and then I saw my two favorite YouTubers were on, so I can learn the best way to scrub bathroom towels later. That's so funny. I do the same thing. I always go go to for stuff like that.
Shannon could do
Oh,
a cleaning channel.
yeah, but
There's cleaning. What's the cleaning hack that you have that Tide, right?
oh well, Go Clean was Go Clean Co was a YouTube sort of influencer that does cleaning products, and yeah, Tide was used for everything.
Little plug for what is it called?
Go Clean Co.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm glad our microphones work.
Gary says hello. It's Gary from Tennessee.
Hi, Gary.
Rock child of the '60s. Back in the '70s, they literally had great songs dropping out of the back of trucks.
One of you can always know which artist you can ask. That I think Randy Meisner of the Eagles might have been the first one I asked. I said, well, like, what was the vibe like? I mean, really, what was the vibe like? You came out of Poco, and you went into the Eagles, and Timothy B. Schmidt replaced you in Poco, and then replaced you in the Eagles. It's weird. But I said, what was the vibe like in the '70s? And he says, I always love answering that question because he says it was a magical time and we were aware of it. And people, when I talk to Richie Furay or something from Buffalo Springfield, and of course Poco, he started. He talks about the '60s. He says, we were well aware that something was going on. We were well aware that, and it was a feeling. And whenever I think about it or talk about it, I was too young myself. He says, I feel that. And it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it.
Renard, good evening from London. And John
Oh,
Adams.
Renoir. Probably Renoir.
John Adams is liking, do you like the band The Psychedelic Furs?
Not big fan, no. But as I get older, I must say there are bands that I didn't give a chance to before. Shannon's like that. And she'll go back and say, well, I want to listen to that again. Or I want to listen to the album and see, because usually sometimes a single is not representative of what the person is capable of doing,
Getty is asking, will Randy Bachman's Vinyl Tap come back in any way?
It is coming back. He couldn't tell me where it's coming back. It doesn't look like it's coming back on the CBC. But just before we stopped talking, I asked him, you love doing that radio show, and he has some in the can because he's planning on touring. He has an album called Bachman and Bachman with Tal, his son, coming out. And he's going to release a video of that, that Gretsch guitar that he lost in 76, 78, whenever it was, that he found again. A friend of his found, a fan found it in Japan, and they're going to do an exchange. He had to come up with the exact Gretsch guitar that was built, a sister to the Gretsch guitar that he lost that was stolen, to give to this Japanese musician who's kind of a rockabilly musician in Japan. They're going to do a film of it. And Japanese are very, very big on loyalty and, and doing the right thing. And they're all excited about it as well. So he talks a lot about that. There's actually a picture of me and Randy right there.
Surfer Boy saying people are fighting about parking spaces here in Boston since the snow. If you take someone's marker away and park in their spot, it's a war. It's a cultural thing.
Are you serious?
Yikes.
The divisiveness in the world right now is just a little scary. It's I hear from friends who just say, you know what, I'm just going to continue being a nice person and I'm just going to do what I can. And really, that's pretty good advice. I asked Randy Bachman about the afterlife, and he says, well, I believe there's something bigger than us. And he said, what's wrong with believing in a God or a type of God? He says, what's wrong with thinking there's going to be something on the other side? And he kept saying that, and I kept going, well, yeah, you're right, I'm not a religious person, but we both believe in the afterlife. We believe there's parties up there, lots of beer.
Maybe for you. James says, can you interview Eddie Jobson?
I'd like to. I liked him in UK. I liked him in Jethro Tull. He's an amazing musician. That's a good one. I didn't bring paper with me, but yeah, I can remember that.
Paul Cook, good evening from Liverpool. Yes, come here. It's Beatles City now. Liverpool rejected the Beatles in the 70s, but they're everywhere now.
I was just reading today, and I'd forgotten about this, that the Cavern Club that they played in was actually a bomb shelter. It was used as a bomb shelter. Isn't that cool? It's crazy. What I would say, what changes, I didn't invent this, what changes your mind? Information. You You knew, I always go, Uncle Bob treated you like crap when you were 10. And then when you're 40 years old, your mother says, oh, Uncle Bob was going through this that summer. It had nothing to do with you. Then it changes your past. Information changes your perspective. And I just love reading stuff, especially when it's stuff I used to know and I forgot. Oh, well.
John says, was wondering if Yes, featuring John Anderson, Rick Wakeman, and Trevor, going to put a new album out.
No, that's John Anderson told me that that's finished. Tried to get Rick Wakeman 3 times now. And John Anderson told me an interesting story about Rick Wakeman. It wasn't my idea for a thing. He said, does Rick tell some good jokes? Because he's known as a jokester, right? And John Anderson said, no, the problem with Rick is he keeps telling you the same joke he forgot he told you it. I'm going, oh my God.
So you have to be surprised and laugh.
Yeah, you have to laugh again. Oh,
right?
that's
Oh,
a good
amazing.
one. Oh my God. Trevor Rabin would be good. Ruben Kincaid. How you doing, Ruben? Ruben, aren't we friends on Facebook? We are, right? Yeah. Have you ever tried to interview Miles Goodwin of April 1? I've interviewed Miles Goodwin in the year 2000. I interviewed April Wine, the whole band, Brian Greenway, Jim Clench, who's dead now, and Jerry Mercer, their long-lasting drummer. He's not with them anymore. But it's only Brian now and Miles. So I interviewed Miles. He was a little grumpy in the morning because I think it was during his drinking days. He doesn't drink anymore. He's cleaned up really well. Well, what's making you laugh?
No, I'm just saying my friend Greg's on there. Hi, Greg. Long time no see.
Greg who?
Hey, you crazy kids. Who was your worst interview? Asking for a friend.
Oh, I've said this before. Oh, sorry. Oh, Greg Bilecki, yeah. Hey, do you still have the Volvo XC90? You've got the new model. Yeah, he had a nice Volvo.
Yeah.
What a nice guy.
Super nice.
Yeah, I wish we could have got to know each other a little bit better. I know we're all the way out here. But Greg, if you ever come out east. What was the question,
So
sorry?
who was your worst interview?
It was just, I've said this multiple times on our stream. It was a band called 3 Deep with
Joshua
Morrow and
Eddie
Cibrian, thank you. See, that's why I've got. And then I always forget the Canadian guy in the band. They had a trio, and he was the nice guy. And they kept joking around.
But you took your son to that, right?
I took my son, Mark,
he
my older son.
He was so thrilled to go.
Yeah.
And apparently it was just a less than pleasant experience.
And he looked at me and he says, Dad, what happened there? I says, and he took a picture with him. We still have the picture. And I said, guys, I don't have to do this. Our radio station, QMFM at the time, was presenting the show at the P&E, and I said, guys, it's not important. And no, we'll be good. And they screw around again. And I said, finally, I just took my little tape recorder. And I said, guys, take a picture with my son, please. He wants a picture. And then they got really serious and kind of quiet. I just thought, that stardom thing doesn't, I'd been in radio a lot of years at that point, and you don't do that. It was not cool. They were really arrogant, quite arrogant. Arrogante, whatever that means.
Oh yeah, Ruben. Have you? I don't know if I've repeated what you've said, but
April
have you
1?
tried to interview? Miles Goodwin.
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
Yeah. It was only 20, maybe half an hour for each guy, and they were in their hotel room, and it took for their road manager set it up, and it kept being canceled, and I told myself, nope, they're coming to town. I'm going to meet April 1. They're my favorite Canadian band. I'm going to meet these guys. I've done specials on April 1, top 25 April 1 songs, top April 1 albums. It's on Rock History Book. A lot of work was put into those videos. Insane amount of work. Because back then I didn't know what I was doing, but I just knew it had to look good on the outside when it was finished.
Brian's asking, is there a musician that you haven't interviewed that you want to interview?
Elton John, Nigel Olsson, Elton John's drummer.
Big ones.
Paul McCartney, Peter Frampton. I almost had Olivia Newton-John. I should get a hold of them again. They told me to get back to them in the fall. I never did. Her manager, whoever handles her, is really a polite guy. Robert Plant's manager got back to me right away within like 15 minutes and said, tried for Neil Sedaka a little while ago, and I just was told that he's not doing interviews. Tried for David Lee Roth, told he wasn't doing any interviews. Of course, then we found out David Lee Roth was canceling his Vegas residency, so I understood that now. And some that canceled. Harry Connick Jr. canceled. Roger Moore, James Bond, canceled. That was a live. He was supposed to come into the radio station. He was being white-hatted in Calgary. That's what they do with celebrities in Calgary. And a few other people were just didn't show up or just canceled.
Fraser Chase says, John, do you have a special shirt designer for your videos? They're amazeballs.
Thanks. It's the only thing I spend money on outside of Scotch is the shirts. Yeah. But to me, it's just one of the things that I do, right? Everyone has their certain thing, especially now with our backdrop being quite boring, really. The green screen that I used to use all the time for so many years, we still have it, but we don't know what to do with it. And then we have that wall that I had in New Brunswick, that big wall of all the band logos. We're going to take it out of my mother's house this summer and bring it maybe here. I'm not sure what to do with it. It's all black light paint. We posted it before. I don't know how to show you. No, I don't know.
Ruben's asking, would love to see you interview David Wilcox. He's tough to get.
Is he? Yeah, I saw a picture of him. David lost all his hair, right? And I remember someone was showing me a long time ago a picture of him, and I didn't recognize him. I think we have an interview with David Wilcox. Actually, we do have an interview with David Wilcox that Steve Burgess did when he gave me all his interviews. I think it's from 86, 87. That's when he was doing a lot of interviews. We were using those interviews for a Canadian show that I was syndicating across the country called the Cross Canada Report. We were in 42, 45 markets, 40 some markets across the country, but we couldn't get Toronto. Couldn't get it.
Swede Savage, have you seen Triumph documentary Rock and Roll Machine?
No, but it's coming on Crave in Canada, so we're going to get a chance to see it. And one of their publicists for the band just sent that information to me like this week, and I've interviewed the other two guys, but not Gil. Rick Emmett, I've interviewed him, 7 times, maybe 8.
A lot of times.
Yeah. And so Mike Levine twice. Mm-hmm.
Ooh, Greg says not in an XC90. Was that what his name before, an XC90?
Yeah.
He's now in a V90R.
What is that? Who makes that?
Is that still Volkswagen? Is that?
No, that was a Volvo he had.
Volvo,
Well, maybe it was a Volvo. Was it a Volkswagen?
No, we had Volvo last time.
Yeah.
I know you guys talked about new cars.
We look at new cars and we think about new cars.
We just go,
and we start going, oh no, in 2 years I'll be done with my car payments and her car's paid off. So yeah. 3 Dog Night, 3 Dog Hall of Fame. Yeah, Vaz 22. Yeah, I should get Chuck again on the show. I interviewed Chuck on the phone, and with COVID, that's one good thing out of COVID. Everyone goes on Zoom now. Everyone goes on. So it's kind of a cool thing.
John says, hey guys, John from Rolling Meadows, Illinois. How about interviewing Robin Trower?
Everyone's I've heard that an awful lot. We have a list, we're going to have to go back on that list. Gary Newman was awesome. Car is defined as here in my car. Yeah, I remember that song. Doing it, I don't know if I could get Sting. I don't know if I've never tried. I met the whole band in 1980 when Zenyatta, was it 80? Zenyatta Mandata was coming out. Hear that? What the hell? Johnny needs to eat.
Precy says, Shannon, please tell John that the Hall of Fame band Bernie Taupin for life.
Oh, yeah. Bernie Taupin would be a good interview. The thing with talking about a lyricist, Elton John's lyricist for folks who don't know, I think he'd be a good interview. He's the guy, the weatherman of words.
Surfer Boy says, hey, you should interview Clapton. He wants to talk to everyone these days. You just have to agree with him.
No, I don't want to interview. I don't think I'll interview. He seems a little, I can understand the then picking a side. I hope he's okay. I mean, he gave us an awful lot, right? So I hope he's okay.
Snowman is asking, would you do an interview with Kenny Jones from The Who?
I would. Yeah, I would interview him. I think he'd be a good interview. There's so many people. Thanks for all the ideas. There's so many people because we're losing so many. I asked Randy Bachman today if Fred Turner, CF Turner as he used to be called, was retired, and he has retired. He's done. He's got a couple of places he had told me, and he's got one in a hot. I don't know where he told me, but yeah, he's basically retired. I'd like to talk to Fred Turner, and Randy has good memories of touring. I asked about touring with Eddie Van Halen. That's a really good story, and yeah,
Gary Newman was awesome. Cars define the genre for me.
yeah. I said that one. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not even where you are.
Well, I'm all over the place here.
Rock Child of the 60s. No Canadian cars are the exact same cars in the States.
What did he say?
No Canadian cars are the exact same cars in the States.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think that's true, is it?
Joel Smith at Rock History Music. Thank you so much for the great content and great interviews. I loved your Mark Farner interviews. Long live the real Grand Funk Railroad.
Yeah, I don't think that's ever going to happen again. Unfortunately, I wish they'd get back together, but they're probably not going to. And Mark Farner, I interviewed twice. He was a real gentleman, a real nice guy. Yeah, I could talk to him for. Richie Fiore was another guy that I found incredibly interesting. When you talk about Poco and the music that he contributed, Buffalo Springfield. I mean, that says a lot. Yeah. And then there was silence. Check out Rick Beato. Oh, thank you, Rich59. Is that how you say it?
Iron Maiden or Judas Priest for the Hall of Fame. If you had to pick one.
Oh man.
If you had to pick one, which would you pick?
I don't know if I could pick Iron Maiden. I don't know. Yeah. Rick Beato is an amazing YouTuber. He's the king of doing all this stuff. He's the man. Rich59, thank you very much for your donation. Appreciate that. I always say you don't have to, but we appreciate it. We always put it towards advertising, right? That's what we do whenever we try to promote our what do you call it? The trailer? Yeah, the trailer.
JD, America drummer died recently, but he was not in the cover for albums of their past.
He was not on the cover, but if you look at the Hearts album, he was on that album. They started promoting. It's like the Bee Gees with Spirits Haven't Flown. They started showing the band after Saturday Night Fever. America did that with the Hearts album with Sister Golden Hair, which was really nice. We did a whole thing on them, by the way. If you look at our videos, I did an obituary for him, and we try to go out of our way to do those sort of things. I've interviewed Jerry Beckley and Dan Peake, who Dan's dead now, of America.
DM, how is Richie Faulkner doing and Brian Adams?
I don't know. I have no idea. Never heard anything. And Brian, I think we would have heard via the radio station I work at because he's friends with some people there. I think it would have gotten back to us if he wasn't doing well. We know people who had COVID twice and they're fine.
Hey, John, do you have any Guess Who stories?
No, I'm too young to have known. I just interviewed Frank Triano, who is Dominic Triano, who was with the Guess Who for their last two albums, and they tell stories about a lot about Burton Cummings. I mean, today there was a lot of stories, not a lot, a few stories about Burton Cummings via Randy Bachman. And he told a lot of stories about the Guess Who, so that's coming up, which is really, really nice.
Kai said, "Hi, John. Lou Pardini left the band Chicago. Do you have a plan to interview with him?"
No, I'm trying to get Robert Lamb right now of Chicago and Jimmy Pankow, or James as he calls himself on albums. DM, thank you. Appreciate your donation.
It's very sad losing our stars. Part of me is lost.
It is. It is. Shannon's doing a thing right now on the saddest rock deaths of all time. And John Lennon's on the part one. By the way, when Shannon does this, I always ask her, make sure for part one, it's always the most obvious ones. And then we dig deeper after that. Because if you don't put the obvious ones in part one, they basically crucify you. So if we didn't have John Lennon in part one, it wouldn't be it would not be a good
And it's
thing.
nice too that I've got this guy over here because I do a ton of research before I even put it on. And he'll be like, "Are you sure about that? Because I remember."
And
And of
now she
course,
comes up to me and says, "Okay, I've got these five. What's the
what's
big thing?" We have this thing that we talk about, and if you're a YouTuber, it's an important thing to remember that you don't want to forget the thing about that person. Chris Brown walks into the door.
what's the biggest thing that you remember
He
of
beat up
that?
Rihanna. I'm unfortunately most people will look at him. Oh, a snowman. Thank you. Have you ever done an interview with the Bay City Rollers? No, never tried actually.
Oh, that would I love to be totally in my genre.
It's
Like,
amazing how
but
big the Bay City Rollers were when we had two members pass away. Oh yeah, Dee Murray and Bob Birch both dead. Pressy of the Elton John band. Yeah, bassist in the Elton John band.
Fraser J is saying, "Hey John, what can your subscribers do to help your channel? Is there anything that we can do?"
Share our videos on your Facebook and on your Twitter, and well, obviously subscribe. Tell your friends about our channel. We don't, uh, but I don't make excuses. You know, people like Rick Beato. His channel is big because he's incredibly good at what he does. You know, he's a musician, and he has great talent. Um, Rick Beato deserves the recognition that he has because he's so good at what he does. And the Professor of Rock's very good. You know, I don't watch a lot of their stuff. Oh my God. Thank you, everybody.
Richie59, one album you can listen to from start to finish and every song is a banger. My pick is AC/DC Back in Black.
Back in Black's a
Oh,
great
that's
album.
a good one.
Yeah. And Highway to Hell before that was a good one. To me, it's Small Creeps Day by, it's my top album, Small Creeps Day by Mike Rutherford of Genesis, Mad Men Across the Water by Elton John, Don't Shoot Me by Elton John, Captain Fantastic by Elton John, Blue Moves. I like Caribou, but Don't Shoot Me. Every song sounds like a freaking hit single. You have one?
Ugh.
Pet Shop Boys.
No, I don't know, but that was a good one. Back in
Oh,
Black.
Repeat Offender. You were talking.
Oh yeah.
She
That
loves
was
Richard
back
Marx.
in my day. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was. I love that.
Okay, hold on. We had some.
And right here as well, from Rockchild the '60s. Okay, third try. Have a coffee, me, you crazy kids.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
That's kind. Thank you.
It's very sweet.
Appreciate it. Well, I guess we're going to have to do some advertising. There you go.
What do you think about the band Tears for Fears?
Love Tears. We both love Tears for Fears. I like their new stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, many thanks,
For everything, look forward to Fridays.
thank you, Christopher.
Very thoughtful.
Yeah, we're ready to. So we got 10 more minutes. 11.
JT Shark, have you gotten Burton Cummings yet?
No, but I will try to get Burton via Randy. I'm going to ask Coco, who is actually Tal, Randy's son, and they will connect us. So,
DM is saying, have you heard of the Real Music Observer channel? Love your channel. Shannon and Danica rock.
I don't really pay much attention to him because he turns off his comments. He dishes out a lot of crap, and he's turned off his comments. And I don't know why someone would do that if he's going to go out and make big statements about a lot of things and turn off the comments and people can't comment on what he does. To me, that's kind of a cowardly thing to do. I don't know why he does that. I know he gets a lot of flack for doing a lot of things, but I haven't seen anything he's done in quite a long time. So.
Hike with Mike. I love the scene from Almost Famous when Cameron Crowe uses Elton John's song "Tiny Dancer."
Yeah.
Great scene in the movie.
Yeah. I'm not a Kate Hudson fan. There's something about, sometimes there's actors or actresses, you don't know why, but they rub you the wrong way. And I'm sure she's a real nice person. I don't know. But that's one film she was just fantastic in. And she's been on other films that I've liked in her in it. But I tend not to watch a lot of stuff with her in it. But that was a gold mine, that show. That I would just love. Go ahead, sir.
Analog Kid. Would you do a collaboration with Pete Pardue of Sea of Tranquility?
Sure. I don't like doing those kind of things because we're always working ahead and we're always, not that I wouldn't, because I have a lot of respect for him too. Good researcher, great presenter, comes off like a knowledgeable, nice human being that gives a crap about this music. And that's why I like him a lot. But I don't get a chance to watch a lot of, I get sent a lot of these things. There's so many people doing this now. A lot of people doing what we do. it is what it is because people are at home, right?
Do you ever interview Rocky Erickson from Justin?
No. Who's Rocky Erickson? I don't know who that is. What is he solo? Is he in a band? There's always holes in my knowledge as well. That you know. Look, there we are.
Ooh. JD says, "Hey, John, my name is John too. I like my name, and we were both born in 1960, the
Hey,
year of the rat."
right on, you little rat. DM, thank you, appreciate that.
Yes.
How to
The
lose?
guy in 10 days could be an exception.
Oh, you guys.
Let's see here. Sorry, there's so many comments here. I'm just trying to. I can't capture everyone, but I'm trying to see what I can do.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that guy anymore. That other.
Oh, no problem. Justin says Rocky Erickson was the guy from 13th Floor Elevators. And he had a hit song about a two-headed dog.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
Hey, John, comment on the band UK.
Well, I got into their first album quite late. I got into their second album, Danger Money, when I was still in high school. You know, we'd be passing by each other in high school, the people who were really into the band, and we go Danger Money, doodling doon doodling doon, or doodoo 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 doon. We do these stupid little nuances from the album. And John, I love John Wetton. I mean, what a great loss. And I talk to Lisa, his widow, now and then. I haven't talked to her in a while. But I always say, anytime you want to come on the channel and talk about John, but I don't think she's ready, or else, maybe she has since then, and I haven't followed up.
Paul says, "Hey, do Sega still tour?"
I don't know. I haven't, unless I've looked into the band. It's so weird. I looked at the TV screen, and your image on the screen was looking like directly at me. I just got a freak out moment. I went, "What? How can that be?"
I agree, Ruben. Billy Idol would be a great chat, but hard to get. That would.
He's going through some medical stuff right now because he had to cancel the tour with Journey, and so he's dealing with that. And you just wrote a thing on him.
I did. Floyd the Barber. Hey, Floyd. Happy
Hi,
weekend,
Floyd.
guys. John,
Hey,
I
man.
was just listening to George Michael singing 1, 2, 3, the old Len Barry song. George could flat out sing.
1, 2, 3.
Do you have an appreciation for him?
I
sure do.
Yeah, Shannon does a lot. Shannon's a huge. I would go into her car, the SUV she had before this one, and she had a disc changer in it, right? Didn't the RDX had a disc?
Did.
Yeah. And then so I'd go in there and I'd go, every time it's on there, she's got it on Pet Shop Boys or George Michael.
Those were two of my favorites.
Yeah.
I know, what, when celebrity, like you said, everybody has a celebrity that, or a musician that they admire so much, and when they pass away, it really hits them hard. And I know there's been a ton. And of course, as we're getting up in our age, we see a lot more of that. But yeah, George Michael was a hard one for
Christmas Day.
Because it was Christmas Day.
We had Troy, our friend, over. Check out his channel, Troy Haas. How do you spell his last name?
H-A-W-E-S.
H-A-Y-E-S.
H-A-W.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, check it out. He does tutorials.
She's in one of his videos. She's a video girl.
He does tutorials for guitar playing. And singing.
H-A-W-E-S, Troy.
Yeah, he's great.
He's a nice guy. He was one of our best friends in Calgary. Just a joy of a human being.
Let's see here.
But I did the video, and he needed a video girl. And he was dating someone at the time, and I said, don't use the person you're dating, no matter what. And he said, why? I said, well, you don't know how long will it last? And if it doesn't last, there's a chance that the lady will say, take my video down. And I said, I'm not going to do all this work. You cannot use her. He said, well, I wasn't going to anyway. I wasn't even thinking about it.
I volunteered. It was fun.
Yeah.
Josh says, hey, guys, love your channel.
Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. Let me just see here.
Who was the most pretentious interview? I interviewed Joyce DeWitt from Three's Company, and I'd never really interviewed a lot of TV people at that point. And I remember thinking, oh, I wonder what she's going to be like. She's always been my favorite on the show. And she was so nice. She was the opposite of pretentious. I was told not to bring up John Ritter. He had died not that long before. And I went, there's no freaking way I'm interviewing Joyce DeWitt on live radio and not asking her about John Ritter. I'm going to do it. I said I wouldn't, but I did. She cried. And later I apologized to her. We took a picture together. And she says, well, you had to ask. I know. So she was really, really nice. I went to see, she was playing at Stage West, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to see her at Stage West in Calgary. But I'm not pretentious. What's his name? Jeff, who's the interviewer, the radio guy interviewed Jeff Woods. In his book, Jeff Woods explained a Canadian artist named Chantal Kreviasek as precious. So I don't think I've interviewed anybody who was precious. You know what? The worst interviews are the local musicians. Most of them, 99% are nice. But if you're going to get someone pretentious, you're going to get some local phenom who just thinks they're bigger than they are. And you're looking at them going, yeah, okay, sure. How's that working for you?
Swede Savage is asking, personal question, if I may. How did you two kids meet?
Quick story. Want me to tell it?
Yeah, it's pretty quick. It's a quick story.
I was doing Reiki. Reiki never really resonated with me for whatever reason. I was into a lot of new agey stuff. And for whatever reason, when I was becoming a Reiki master through this lady named Sarah, and we were working on this native elder, you can't go reach it, but there's a feather up there. We were working on him, and at the end, he gave us matching feathers from each side of the bird, of the eagle. And I went, well, that's kind of cool. And then she said, let me do your tea leaves. And I went, really? I don't know, Sarah, that's okay. She says, let me do your tea leaves. I went, okay, Jesus Christ. So she did my tea leaves, and she said, oh, you're going to meet someone. She's really pretty. She's younger than you. She's got long black hair. And I'm going, oh, okay, sure. You want to drive home now? And I'm driving her home. She says, oh, I got someone I want you to meet. I went, oh, does she have long dark hair and she's really pretty? I said, I don't want to meet anybody. I'm in a really good place in my life. I don't have, it's really, I'm just,
So Sarah also worked.
Oh, yeah.
I had a clothing kind of
She had a great little
store over on West Broadway in Vancouver at the time, and Sarah would do readings, tea leaves, whatnot, in the back room, and and so that's how she knew John, and they came in, and we.
Shannon always says this is bull crap, but when I opened the door, a gust of wind came through, and her hair blew.
Oh, right.
And I remember looking at her, and my first thought was, oh God, please, God, let it be her, please. I'll never ask for anything again, never.
And then we chatted for a bit, and he invited me to an 8 p.m. potluck dinner that he was throwing, and he wanted to invite.
And then I realized she said she'd come, and then I went, oh, I got to ask her out first. I've got to go out with her first. It was a few days before the weekend. I think we went out on a Thursday.
And that was 25 years ago, almost.
March 18th.
That's a long time. So.
Oh, you might have to go. That's Danica.
Oh.
We're going to have to wrap things up anyway.
We do have to wrap
Oh, it's 9 o'clock.
It is 9.
Oh, he must have told her. Our autistic daughter is very OCD. And when you tell her a time, that's it.
That's the time.
So Chase would have told Danica, Mom will be up at 9, and she just came down. You could hear her, and she said, Mama. She's 23, but she acts like a child because she's
acts quite a bit.
mentally challenged and mentally ill. So, my wife's birthday, Reuben Kincaid.
Oh,
special day for a lot of people.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you. So this is the pen we use, by the way.
We've enjoyed ourselves incredibly. Thank you so much for always joining us.
Thanks for indulging us.
It's always so much fun to be here.
Yeah, we look forward to it.
Yeah, and to next week, same time.
8 o'clock Atlantic. Yeah, there you go. But this has been a lot of fun. You have to press that little X.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna say bye now.
See you guys.
Take care.
You got to press